I know this video is quite late, but this is going to be a really very important video for your GKS application process. This video is going to be about the essays which you write in your application process, because as you know, essays are one of the most important and integral part of your application. Also, I would be reading out some equivalent and relevant parts of my essay for you to get a reference of what I'm talking about. I know it's already late, so most of you would have already written your essays and right now would be planning to even submit all your documents to the embassy or the university. Even though you've written all your essay and prepared your documents, but still this video is going to be really important for you, and it will add a lot of value to your application process if you watch the video till the end without skipping, please. So even though you've written your essays, but still, if you find my points to be valuable, you can make amendments to your essay. You can change a little bit here and there so that your essays can turn out to be the perfect example of an essay which gets selected. One really important thing which I would like to say before I begin this video is that I would be reading some parts of my essays which I submitted as a GKS Scholar in this video. So this is something which is really big. One thing which you need to keep in mind is that if you try to copy the same things which I had written, it's gonna take you to trouble, because it's a policy. It's very important for you to know that it's the policy of the NIED that they store the applicants, all the applicants' essays or their personal details with them for like 5 years, and we as GKS scholars, they store our personal details for like a lifetime something. So they always have our data with them. Whenever you submit your essays to not only this scholarship but to anywhere in the world for any interview, for any college selection, they run a plagiarism check. And the plagiarism check involves the data which they have in their computers, the data which of the past records which also they have in their computers, and also the data, all the data available on the internet. So your essay goes through all these checks before they even start evaluating. And if your essay, the policy of the NIED says that if any part of your essay is found to be plagiarized or copied, you will be banned from applying to the scholarship. So even if you want to copy some part of my essay, I don't mind it, but it's gonna run you into trouble. I would strictly say don't do it, because it's gonna cause a problem to me also in future maybe, and it's going to cause a greater problem to you. Thinking about it a lot, I decided to read some parts of my personal statement for you. So I hope that you respect my decision and you understand the seriousness of this decision. So don't try to copy the things which I've written. Just take it as an example and try to frame your own things. You already know how integral the essays are in your application process. So there's a reason why I'm making a special, different kind of video dedicated specially to the essays section of the application. And also the best part is that it's totally and entirely in your hand to control this section. You can ace this section and you can also ruin your application based on this section. So it's all in your hands. Now, you must be thinking, who am I to comment about essays and guide you on this application process, especially about essays? Then I would like to introduce myself. I am Jannat and I am the 2024 GKS undergraduate scholar from India, currently studying at Seoul National University. My major is business administration, and what makes me maybe the right person to guide you about essays is that I have applied to the top 50 world ranking universities around the world and got accepted in many of those universities. Therefore, I have an idea of what kind of essays work for these kind of top ranking universities. Apart from that, I'm also a published author and my works have been published in various anthologies and books. I also have a self-help psychological book called What is Happiness? So based on all of these past achievements, maybe I think I may be the right person to guide you on how you can ace your essays. So the most important thing which people fail to understand in the essay section of the application process is the reason why you're asked to write these essays. People just go on writing anything in these sections, but they fail to grasp the actual idea of being asked these questions and being asked to write about these essays. So in total, there are 4 essays which you have to write. The first is the personal statement, the language plan, the study plan, and the future plan. All of these 4 essays have different purposes. There are different reasons why you're being asked to write these 4 essays. And what's important for you to understand is that you need to know the purpose of you writing the essay before actually delving into and writing the essays. First, let's talk about personal statement. So, personal statement, as the name suggests, is a personal statement. And what people fail to understand is that it's a personal statement. People go on writing quotes from here and there, quotes from film or books, and people make it very generalized. People make it sound like really boring. Like, I'm so and so, I'm doing this and this major. A personal statement is meant to be personal. It's meant to have an emotional touch to it. And people fail to understand that. So if you look at the application and the instructions which are given under the personal statement, which are to be followed by you, are that you need to write about the motivations for which you're applying for the program, your educational background, extracurricular activities. You can describe your awards. But what's important here and what changes the game is significant experiences you've had, persons or events that have had a significant influence on you. Do you understand why you're being asked to write about this point? It's because it's a personal statement. The evaluators through this essay wants to know what kind of a person you are. They don't want to know about your achievements. I mean, they can know about your achievements from your certificates also. They can know about your achievements from this essay also. But what's the purpose of asking you to write this essay is to know what kind of a person you are. So even when you're describing about your awards, your certificates, you need to describe it in a way that you show not only those awards and the technical stuff, but also what kind of a person you are. How that, okay, so I won this award and I felt this and this. You need to talk more about your emotions. So the first point which you need to keep in mind while writing your personal statement specifically is that you need to be really creative. You can be technical and normal in other essays like study plan, future plan, but personal statement, that's the thing which changes the game. You need to be very expressive and very creative in this essay. For example, if I tell you about what I had written for my essay, I had talked about 2 things which remain unchanged across different cultures. Because the language changes and things change when we move from one country to another, from one culture to another. But there are 2 things which remain unchanged. I have written my essay in a way in order to describe those 2 things and also describe myself as a metaphorical meaning. So I've tried to be creative, and that's how I've been creative. So I hope you're getting it. Now, a really important thing is for you to have a very good start. It should be really interesting because you say psychology says that you create your impression in the first 7 seconds. So you need to have a start which can grab the reader's attention. They want to read more and more and more. So how can you achieve that? You can achieve that if you be creative and you incorporate something which builds an interest. For example, if I read out how I started my personal statement, as I've read this part of my personal statement out loud to you, you can see that I had a creative start, and also what's important is that I used metaphor. I used the punctuation mark as a metaphor for explaining my story or my passion of why I'm opting for business administration. Also, there are other metaphors which I've used, like I've talked about how different our culture, like when the change of culture begins to blur out our understanding of each other. So you know that we as Indians, we can't understand Korean. Know that we are unfamiliar to each other. So I've used that unfamiliarity as a metaphor, because I said that Things change across culture, but there are two things which remain constant. So I've talked about the differences, but I've also talked about how we're still the same people, even if we have differences. Now here I want to clarify something. I've written that I want to narrate to you my story of person with dual degree in psychology and business administration. And you would be thinking, can we apply for dual degree and things like that? No, please. Don't take any risk. I just wrote it in my personal statement, but for the blank wherein you have to mention your major, I just mentioned business administration. I was just interested in psychology and I also had good profile in that. So I wrote it only in my personal statement that I want to pursue a dual degree, but for in the formal place where we have to mention about major, I just wrote business administration, and you can only write one major. So yeah, you should better write only one major. Right now I've decided that I'll be pursuing business administration with international relations as minor. So yeah. So as I've read out that part of my essay, you can see that I've narrated a story. I have tried, because it said the essay instructed me to narrate a significant event of my life, a person, or an experience which I've had. Most of the people don't mention this, or most of the people, what they do is they mention about a competition that I won this and this and that was a life-changing moment. No, you need to mention about an event that really changed you. So I tried to mention about, there are many events which happen in life which really change us in different kinds of ways, but I mentioned specifically about this event because I had to show the people that I'm interested in psychology. So how did that interest come up? Why am I interested in psychology? So I built an entire story. I narrated, so what I've done through this is built a storyline, I narrated the event, and I also showed them that I'm really interested in my major. So I did three things at one go. Humans are So as you have seen in the part of the essay which I read, I showed to them that I'm really interested in my major. So what's important is for you to show them you must be interested in your major, and you have written that I want to pursue this and this as my major, but they don't know whether you're really interested. It must be that you just want to pursue it. So you need to show them that you are really interested. So you can take this opportunity to express yourself, what kind of a person you are, your life, a significant life event, your personality, and also about the fact that you're really interested in your major. How did you get interested? Those still black portions of the baby squirrel may have been a full stop. Who sells ideas. So in your personal statement, you see how I have talked about things. I have been very descriptive. So you need to be very descriptive about things. You need to show rather than telling. Like I could have easily told that, okay, my mother is a homemaker and she's a good woman. I mean, she has given a lot to me. I've learned a lot from her, and I've learned a lot from my father. I've been convinced to study business administration, become an entrepreneur, all because of my father. I could have simply said that, but I chose to show these things. I showed these things through my father's diaries, how they had expenses and incomes, numbers in their monetary form, how I got to get inspired, how those are testimonies and things like that. So I tried to show them the picture, try to create a picture in the minds of the evaluators. So what's important is to show rather than telling stuff. Also, try to be more descriptive. I could have easily said that there were a lot of pots, which my mother really likes planting trees. So yeah, she has a lot of plants. But no, I try to show those things so that it creates a picture in their mind. So be really descriptive. If you want to be creative, you want to write like me, then one of the most important advices that you need to follow is to view things as an art and try to describe the smallest details about things. When you see and notice the smallest details and write about them, your writings become unique and beautiful. Now, there are many certificates which I've submitted, but I've mentioned, like you've seen, I've mentioned only about a few of those things about which I've submitted the certificates. I've mentioned only about a few of those things, and also I've not mentioned the same thing. Like for example, I had submitted an extract and a picture of the book I published, that okay, I published this and this book, but I just did not write in my personal statement that okay, I published this and this book and it was a good book. No, I tried to explain those things which the picture alone could not explain. So I explained what was this book about, how would that book be benefiting to others, and what was the concept of this book. So you need to explain about 2-3 important competitions only, and explain those things which certificates alone couldn't show. Those details which are really important, but certificates alone couldn't have shown those. Like in my other documents, I had made a collage of all the events which I had hosted, but through those photos, I could not show how important, what kind of like big people had come to the event, how I had hosted those really great celebrities. So I mentioned those things. I mentioned about those celebrities because through the pictures you can't see that. So those were really important things I felt that would really give a boost to my profile. So I specifically mentioned about that particular part of my achievement. So what I want you to know is that when you're talking about achievements, you don't need to talk about everything about that competition, that achievement, but you need to select some really important achievements and then filter down those things which certificates alone could not show. It was significant, but certificates alone could not have shown that, but you want the evaluators to know this. Now you see, when I've mentioned about my mother, my father, the story about the squirrel and the experiences which I've had, do you think others can have the same experience? Do you think you can have the same experience? You cannot have the same experience. That belongs specifically to me. So that's the thing which makes the personal statement a personal statement. When your personal statement becomes so unique that it can only be your personal statement, only then can you be assured that yes, this is a personal statement. This is a good personal statement. So what I want you to know is you need to make the personal statement really you. When you read your personal essays, you should feel that it's about my personality. It reflects with my personality. If you read your personal statement, it does not feel like you. It does not reflect your personality. It means that your personal statement is not the clear reflection of your personality. Your personal statement should be the accurate representation of your personality. Now you see why I had mentioned about my father and my mother. I mean, it also, there was an instruction that you need to talk about your background, so I thought I should mention about my mother and father. But I also mentioned about my mother and father because that makes the personal statement unique to me. That makes it really personal. So you need to find things which are really personal to you. You need to find those things which are so personal to you that they have shaped you, they have become an integral part of you, and incorporate those into the essays in a meaningful way so that the personal statement becomes unique to you and a reflection about your personality. I have also recently been chosen by women of the Now you know what makes an essay unique, what makes a piece of poetry or an article unique, and what makes it stand out? It's the last part, it's the punchline. You need to have a punchline at the last because the last impression is also very important. When the evaluator is reading all your application, the entire essay, okay, the start was good, oh, everything was nice, but the end was not that good, maybe it can it can leave a kind of negative impact about your application, about your essay. Like you see a movie and the movie was really good, but if the movie does not have a good ending, then you don't feel that satisfied with the movie. So the same happens in the essay. What's important is for you to have a good end. Now people don't even really understand what is actually a good end. You need to understand what's a punchline. So like you see how I've mentioned in my essays. In my essay, I try to take my evaluator, my reader, back to the beginning of the essay so that it leaves a punchline. It leaves a kind of lasting impression in the mind. So that's one way you can add a punch to the end of your application, to the end of your essay. That's to take the entire thing back to the start. You need to talk about everything, and then at last write something which takes you directly to the start. This is not the only way which you can follow, but this is one of the ways which you can follow to have a really good ending. Okay, so this video was getting too long, so I decided to split the video into two parts. In part 2, I've discussed about the study plan, future plan, and language plan, so please make sure to check out the part 2 of this video.